Hello and welcome to Blockbuster Review on Prudent Media. My name is Sachin Chatte and on this program we take a look at the latest releases. Today we will take a look at The Devil Wears Prada Part 2 and Ritesh Deshmukh's Raje Shivaji. First, let's take a look at Raje Shivaji. Written, directed and produced by Ritesh Deshmukh, Raje Shivaji releases in both Hindi and Marathi version. And here's a fun piece of history. Back in 1952, the legendary Balji Pendarkar also made Chhatrapati Shivaji, and he also made it in both languages, and it also featured a cameo by Lata Mangeshkar. This new film carries the same tradition forward with a major star cameo that's easily one of its highlights. The Marathi version, by the way, runs 8 minutes longer than the Hindi cut. Now, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's life absolutely deserves a grand biopic. But for anyone who's read the books, seen the plays or followed the films, there's very little here that's new. And despite the big budget, the filmmakers have played it safe. Very, very safe, I must say. The storytelling sticks to the essentials, catering squarely to mainstream taste. The slow motion sequences alone, and there are many, help push the runtime well beyond 3 hours. The film opens in 1629, a year before Shivaji Maharaj's birth, structured in titled chapters, very similar to Dhurandhar. In fact, if I'm not wrong, even the font is the same. It sets up the political chessboard of the era. The Mughals, the Nizam, the Sultanate of Bijapur and the Marathas led by Shahji Bhosle, Shivaji's father. It's a world most audiences aren't as familiar with, and that's actually one of the most interesting parts of the film. The complications of the dynasties, that is. But you'll wait nearly an hour before the adult Shivaji, played by Ritesh himself, appears on screen. He shares a close bond with his elder brother Sambhaji, played by Abhishek Bachchan, who mentors him in warfare and statecraft. The introductory action sequence though goes on for far too long. Swords, arrows, spears, chopped limbs, severed heads, everything is there in it. The appetite for screen violence, it seems, has no ceiling. The political intrigue keeps coming. Amol Gupte's Adil Shah has a quirky fondness for pigeons and gets frequently outmaneuvered by his Begum, played by Vidya Balan. We also get to see Shivaji's marriage to Sai, played by Genelia Deshmukh, with the couple getting their obligatory romantic moments. And then there is Afzal Khan, Sanjay Dutt, seething and menacing, consumed by one goal: to destroy Shivaji and the Maratha dynasty. His role is fairly similar to what he did in Dhurandhar. The film builds steadily toward the iconic duel at Pratapgarh Fort in 1659, the encounter made legendary by Amar Chitrakatha. And it's in this final stretch that the film truly comes alive. But there's so much left behind on the table. The Battle of Pawankhind, the Siege of Panhada, the Treaty of Purandar, and Shivaji's remarkable architectural legacy. He didn't just capture forts, he also designed them, including Sindhudurg and Pratapgarh. None of that makes the cut. Cinematographer Santosh Sivan's restless camera does bring real energy to the battle sequences. The production values show, but the VFX is unconvincing in places. The supporting cast is a roll call of familiar faces. Bhagyashree as Jijabai, Mahesh Manjrekar as Lakhuji Jadhav, Boman Irani as a spiritual figure, and Fardeen Khan as Shahjahan. Now here's the bottom line. Raje Shivaji is a commendable effort, but for a king who never played it safe, it's a shame the film made in his name does exactly that. I'm going to go with 2 out of 5 stars for Ritesh Deshmukh's Raje Shivaji. And now let's take a look at The Devil Wears Prada Part 2. Now the hardest part of making the sequel to the thoroughly enjoyable 2006 original was probably getting the cast together. Once Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt were signed on, the film was essentially sold. The screenplay, however, tells a different story. It feels like an afterthought. The film is charming and the trio, along with the supporting cast, is a genuine pleasure to watch, but there's little beneath the glossy surface. Unless name dropping like Gucci, Chanel and their ilk is enough to keep you entertained, don't look for anything more than that. Fans of Miranda Presley, played by Meryl Streep, and her former assistant Andy, played by Anne Hathaway, from 2 decades ago will find this a breezy reunion. Remarkably, neither actress appears to have aged a day, and the same goes for Emily Blunt and Stanley Tucci. The film opens with Andy, now a high-profile journalist, receiving a notification that a publication is shutting down just moments before she steps on stage to accept an award. Her acceptance speech touches on journalistic integrity and the broader crisis facing print media as digital continues to take over. Downsizing, she notes, has become an industry-wide reality, with fewer people expected to carry ever heavier loads. Miranda, meanwhile, remains the reigning authority at Runway, the magazine, though the empire is showing cracks. A sweatshop expose has blown up in her face, and her long-awaited promotion to global head is now on hold. Now newly unemployed, Andy finds herself back in Miranda's orbit, this time as features editor, with her old mentor Nigel, played by Stanley Tucci, still in the building. Returning to familiar characters and settings is a double-edged sword in cinema. The novelty is gone, but there's a quiet comfort in catching up with people you already know. David Frankel, who directed the original, is back at the helm, though this time, instead of following Andy find her footing in this big bad city, the film tries to weave together a web of characters with varying degree of success. Emily Blunt appears as a senior executive at Dior, engaged to Benji Barnes, played by Justin Theroux, who happens to be the ex-husband of Sasha Barnes, played by Lucy Liu. Now, some of these connections feel strained, but none more so than the romantic subplot between Andy and a real estate agent. A thread so inconsequential it could have been entirely cut without anyone noticing. On the sidelines, Miranda has a new husband, Stuart, played by Kenneth Branagh, a classical musician, and in keeping with the franchise's love of spectacle, the second half relocates to Milan. The film's real pleasure lies in its characters and the occasional sharp line. Miranda still stays exactly what she thinks, though the bedroom demands a degree of diplomacy that doesn't sit naturally with her, and watching her navigate the tension has its moment. There's a quietly funny funeral scene where Emily coolly observes that the entire congregation appears to be dressed in the Fall 26 collection. Ultimately, what saves the film is its cast. These are actors good enough to elevate almost any material, and they do it. Meryl Streep commands every scene she's in, as much through a well-timed silence as a perfectly delivered line. Hathaway is warm and reliably compelling as the perpetually tested Andy. And Stanley Tucci, as always, brings more weight to his role than the writing deserves. And that really is about all that one is to say, or as Miranda would say, that's all. I'm going to go with 2.5 out of 5 stars for The Devil Wears Prada Part 2. Well, that's what I thought of the two films released this week. Do let us know what you think. And until next week, it's goodbye from me. Till then, keep watching Prudent Media.